It was a large number of people, but it wasn't just the number. The numbers don't tell the story. The kind of people he imprisoned tell the story. They were professionals. They were former ministers. There was a man who was a pasha in the old days, who was a leader of a bourgeois political party. So there was a sense that this man was raiding his own country, that he was showing it no respect.
Jihan Sadat, to her credit, speaks of this as one of his biggest mistakes, and speaks of counseling him or asking him questions about whether it was the right thing to do.
When an American reporter asked if he consulted with the U.S. before the crackdown, Sadat snapped.
No one respects his responsibility, respects his people, respects his dignity, respects the dignity of his people, permits any other power to interfere in his decision.
Sadat came unhinged at the end. There really was something of an individual disturbance at the end. He couldn't believe that his country was not grateful. He couldn't believe that people were still talking to him about the ghost of Jamal Abdel Nasser and the shadow of Jamal Abdel Nasser.
On October 6th, the 8th anniversary of the 1973 war, Sadat got dressed in a uniform he had designed especially for the occasion and went to the annual parade celebrating his greatest victory.
Well, the parade was in progress. It had been going on for more than an hour. And Sadat would stand up every so often and salute the various units that went by. And then, all of a sudden, one of the trucks carrying 8 men suddenly stopped in front of the reviewing stand. But the men stood up, and Sadat himself stood up and gave them the salute. And they opened fire.
President Sadat was struck several times. CBS News correspondent Mitchell Krause was there.
And pandemonium broke loose. As you can see, everywhere you look, bodies were on the ground and people were running.
The actual perpetrators of the plot against Sadat were Islamic fundamentalists associated with groups that ultimately helped form Al-Qaeda.
There is the body of Sadat beneath those of others.
President Sadat died 2 hours later in a military hospital. Anwar Sadat's funeral was attended by 800 world leaders, including 3 former U.S. presidents and Prime Minister Menachem Begin. But there were only 3 Arab heads of state from the Sudan, Oman, and Somalia. Among the Egyptian people, there was shock and disbelief, but little mourning.
The hearts of the Egyptian people were never with him in the sense that they were with Nasser. When he died, one of the surprises that we in the Western press had was that there was no outpouring of grief following his death.
Outside Egypt, Palestinians rejoiced at news of Sadat's assassination. In Beirut, they fired shots in the air and carried a mock coffin. To this day, Sadat remains a controversial figure, a hero in the West, largely forgotten in Egypt itself.
Sadat's importance is that he broke down the rejection that the Arab world had to the existence of Israel. Since Sadat, the Arab world has come to accept that Israel is a part of the region. That's an incredible change in what's happened in the region.
You know, it's said of Moses, he saw the promised land, but he couldn't go there, he couldn't enter it. Well, ironically, the sad thing for Anwar Sadat, he secured the liberation of Sinai, the restoration of its sovereignty to Egypt, but it was done in April 1982.
Sadat knew he might not live to see that day, so he wrote his own epitaph, which is inscribed on his tomb. Anwar el-Sadat, hero of war, hero of peace, lived for peace, and was martyred for his principles. America.